Okay, here's a lesson called misguided religion. Based on this woman with her graven and molten image thinking she's serving the Lord. She thinks she's serving the Lord, she's not, she's misguided, right? So what about misguided religion? Shaped by the man's devices, verse 3, is a waste of money, verse 3, becomes an idol to itself, verse 4. Does that ever happen today?
Yes.
All the time. How much money do people sacrifice to give to false religion? What about if you have a nation with no spiritual leader? Proverbs 14:34. You don't have God's blessing. What about churches that follow Gnosticism or some other religion? There's no authority there. Colossians 2:2. What about homes that don't follow God's plan? Are there any nations, churches, and homes that have no king?
I want to tell you something. That first one is what leads to the others.
Hmm. Well,
It has to start there.
I would beg to differ with you. I think it's the third one that starts the others.
Yeah, that's why the devil's at.
That's what I said.
Oh,
Homes.
the homes. Oh, yeah.
The
I
third
agree
one
with
is
you.
what leads to the
You're
others.
exactly right. I misheard you. Yeah, that's right. Homes, if you don't teach authority, respect for authority in homes, when they go to school, what are they gonna do?
I respect their teachers,
And then when they get out in society, what are they gonna do?
not respecting the
The
law,
policeman, the enforcement
authorities.
of the law, or the government at any level. Yeah, you're right. Homes, churches, nations, no king in Israel. And every man does that. That is the precursor to the dark ages of Israel. So would you say our world has gotten darker in your lifetime?
Yes.
Morally speaking?
Yes, but I will say something that I've said from the pulpit a bunch of times, and I don't know whether you'll agree with me or not. I know Mike's heard me say it.
I'm sure Mike won't agree with you, but I,
Yeah, he's looking for a disagree with me. I think that it has gotten more corrupt, but I do believe when Jesus said to his disciples, "Look, the fields are already white unto harvest." I don't believe that in my lifetime I have seen the fields whiter unto harvest than they
I
are.
don't think those two things are mutually exclusive.
I
I
really,
think I agree with you, but I also think that what I said is exactly on target. The world has gotten darker, and that's leading to more opportunities.
I think so.
When does the light shine brightest?
Right before the dawn, or
No, I probably didn't ask the question right. Let me ask it this way. I use it this way in evangelism sermon. If I had a flashlight up here, or I turned on my phone's flashlight in here, you'd notice it, but it wouldn't get your attention much. But what if I turned off all the lights in this basement with no windows and I turned on my phone flashlight? It would shine brightly against the backdrop of darkness. What about a Christian in a workplace that's full of pretty good people? They're moral. Well, he doesn't really stand out that much. But you put him in a workplace today where the language is awful, the dresses are short, the everything, divorces and living together and gambling on the weekend, every kind of immorality. You got a Christian. Does that Christian stand out in that environment? And the more we stand out, the more salty we are. And thus the more opportunity we have. Once you get noticed, then the people are watching, you can teach stuff.
they were saying, I heard somebody say one time, if you, and this is theoretical physicists that were making this claim, but they were talking about if on a flat surface with absolutely nothing in the way, in utter darkness, the light of a single candle can be seen nearly a mile away.
That's a really good illustration for the point I just made. I mean, the flashlight thing works too, but that's pretty cool.
A single candle, I was like, that can't possibly be true. So I started digging. Yeah.
You're a millennial, aren't you?
No,
Fact checking.
well, no, I'm not, from that standpoint, I am terrified of being fact checked.
Okay.
That, before I use an illustration, I make sure it's.
I think that terrified may be too strong a word, but I think we should be careful with that. Because
No, I'm terrified of it.
you don't want to damage your Credibility.
Credibility, yeah.
Yeah, credibility. Okay, here's a lesson called misguided religion. Based on this woman with her graven and molten image thinking she's serving the Lord. She thinks she's serving the Lord, she's not, she's misguided, right? So what about misguided religion? Shaped by man's devices, verse 3, is a waste of money, verse 3, becomes an idol to itself, verse 4. Does that ever happen today?
Yes.
All the time. How much money do people sacrifice to give to false religion? They could have.
You can look at the cars they drive and the suits they wear and the planes they fly, and you can.
The buildings they preach in.
Yeah.
Well, how do they build it? People give it. Some of those people don't have much money. You know, they're on a assisted living, not assisted living, but fixed income, and you know they're giving. Well, they could have used that money, but they gave it to false religion, thinking they were helping God.
Some Bibles, and you have people that have like 1,000 Bibles in their car, donate $15 to this cause.
Itself,
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
itself, is what they say.
Yeah. Because verse 4 restored the money and they made an idol out of it. So that it was money first, now it becomes an idol itself. And what about religion today? Yeah, false religion becomes its own idol.
Yes, it does.
Makes sense. All right, we gave you the no king in Israel. I think I'm done. The young man, okay, we introduced a new thought in verse 7. So there came a young man out of Bethlehem, Judah, by the family of Judah, who was a Levite, and he sojourned there. Levite, what's his profession? Is he a plumber? What is he? Well, he's from the family of priests, but he's a religious worker. That'd be more accurate. All priests are Levites, not all Levites are priests, right?
Right.
So the priests are from the tribe of Levi, but there's more workers than just the priests. Levites are more like deacons to preachers or deacons to elders, because they do the more menial tasks. Anyways,
We're the ones that carried the ark.
all that kind of thing, folded up the tent.
The tents, you get these curtains, we got those curtains.
Yeah, I'm in charge of, there's down to little details,
Oh,
like pins and,
Yeah, tent pins. There was one group
yeah,
that all they got to do was gather up all the tent pins.
one job, you better get it right. We get to the next campsite, we don't have enough tent pins.
That's on you.
It's on you, that's your job. Anyway, so this guy has left Bethlehem, Judah, and he's traveling. And he comes to this guy's house. Well, what do you do for a living? I'm a Levite. Ding, 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 you're a Levite. You could be my priest. My son's been my priest, but he don't know what he's doing. You know what you're doing. You're like trained. So he hires him. Notice this connection here. I did house of God in verse 5 connected to house of Micah in verse 8, and then there is the house of God in 1831. So you got 3 houses mentioned. 3 houses. Not only in this chapter, but in this book. That'll be the next chapter over 1831. When we get there, you'll see the contrast. All right, I put a box around I am a Levite in verse 9, and a note under that says, why travel away from the tabernacle? Why is a Levite on the loose? Where's he supposed to be? Shiloh, that's where his job is. Why is he not a Shiloh? I don't know the answer to that, but I know that's unusual. And what does he do when he gets away from where he's supposed to be? He gets in trouble. He becomes a false religious teacher. He's going to be hired to be a priest in the house of an idol god. Well, why is he not working where he's supposed to? That's a good question. Could you make a point in that out of in a sermon? And you get away from your purpose, what? You're going to end up serving some. Right?
What do you say all the time? One of the main reasons David got all caught up in it is because he wasn't
On the battlefield.
on a battlefield. That's what God had, that was his purpose.
So what verse says an idle hands are the devil's worship?
Doesn't say it, that's an old wives' tale.
Right, but is there some truth to it?
Yes.
And there's passages that allude to that very thing. Yeah, but
It's not like that.
it's not in there. I've had people tell
Have
me.
you ever preached a sermon on chimney chimney corner scriptures. Yeah, that's always interesting. 'cause
I
people-
actually did it in class.
Oh.
Between classes, I was asked to stay, that guy, one I was telling you about the other day, where they said he's gonna be here in 6 weeks, and they told me that I had to teach.
yeah,
Relations in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And he was a little delayed, so they said, you know, can you teach for a couple more weeks, so. I just went and did that.
People find that interesting because they all even almost argue with you. That's in the Bible, that's in the Bible. They've always heard it.
Well, you should quote it all the time.
Not in the Bible. Oh,
Question. So, we haven't got to this, but it's sticking in my head. Micah consecrated the Levite. He accepted Micah's consecration. That is so backwards. If I'm a Levite and I'm gonna be your priest, why would you consecrate me? I will
I'm
consecrate
supposed to
you.
consecrate you.
it's all worked. This is bad. This is religion gone bad, you know?
Because it's the house of Micah. And so he's making up his rules as he goes.
Yeah.
And you're accepting it because of money
Yeah,
and position and pride.
because he's gonna pay you and because he's got a house of gods. He's got a place to work. He's got a church. Why not I go to work for his church?
That's gotta preach.
If the devil preach, you're gonna have much preaching you. I'm pretty sure you got a lot of preaching you.
Yeah.
Good, you go after it, yeah. All right, let's finish this chapter, we'll take a break. Back in verse 10, Micah said to him, dwell with me, let me hire you, be unto me a father and a priest. I wouldn't take that job, would you?
Nope.
Not of God. You can't, God didn't tell a priest to be a father. And he's not a priest in the first place, he's a Levite. And I will give thee 10 shekels of silver by the year and a suit of apparel and thy victuals. So the Levite came in, it's hired, I'll take it. And the Levite was content. Here's your sermon. Never be content with 1, 2, 3. Ready? This is your sermon. Never be content with false religion. There's a lot of people of false religion, they know this is not in the Bible. But they just sit there because it's like, well, it's my wife, she'd be mad if I said something about it. Or they'll say, well, my parents, they'd roll over in their graves if I left the Baptist church or the Catholic church or whatever. Or they'll say, well, all my business interests are here, all my friends are here. Never be content with false religion. Keep looking until you find the truth. Proverbs 23:23, 2 Corinthians 6:17. Number 2, never be content with sin. 1 Corinthians 9:27. Buffet your body. As Paul did. 1 John 5:21. Flee from idolatry. And then never be content with an evil environment. 2 Peter 2:5-7. 1 Corinthians 15:33. You could add to that list, I think.
Yep.
But that'll get you started. I think there's a good sermon in that.